Genevieve, Wedified by John Maxwell Coaching. We have with us the founder of the Eve Speaks platform. So we're all working together on this platform, but we have a founder of the platform, Miss Angela Gibson Abrahams. Wave,
Hi
hello,
there.
hello. Hello. Okay, and myself. Arlene McLaren. I'm also a certified life coach, and we are so happy to join you. And today we have a special guest, a lovely, faithful, single woman who's also going to be giving us insight as our special guest. And her name is Miss Magdi Akatogri. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. So we have all been a part of the body, okay? We're all saved. We're all walking the journey and endeavoring to live for the Father. Okay, but sometimes we get challenged in the journey and we start to focus on things like being single when we were single, or the job or the career. And so today we want to focus in on how it was that some of these wonderful ladies have been able to focus on the Father and their vision that he has for them, and the Father and the goals that he has for our lives, instead of focusing on the singleness while we're doing the single part of our journey. So we're going to start with Miss Angela Gibson, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her journey to being faithful and single and not having to struggle when the time was single for her.
Well, if I'm going to be truly honest, when I was single,
No, we want you to lie to us. You tell us the lying story.
When I was single,
yes,
for a while I was fine. I was, floating, and I was very focused on God, and he was my all. And then there came a point around age 30. I said, wait a minute, what's going on? I felt like I was in a fog, and I need to wake up and show up for my life. And all of a sudden, being single started to really bother me. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I was so focused on God all the time and so focused on my purpose that I just didn't struggle, because it's just not true. Now I'm married 17 years, going to be 18 this year. But before that, what it took for me to stay faithful was really having other single women who were also striving to be faithful in my life as well. And the struggle was real. I'm not gonna make it up. But what I've learned over the years is that the importance of focusing on my personal growth and development so that I can be a whole person. And still, right now in my marriage, instead of hoping that my husband will fill me up when I am not feeling all the right emotions, like he cannot fill me up. And I think as a single person, I probably didn't think it consciously, but I thought that having a man in my life would make me feel whole and complete and happy all the time, and just romance and all of that, And I can tell you definitively that is not true. God has got to be the one that fills that hole. And it's a daily decision.
I think we can all just pack up and go now, because that's basically the premise, right? I mean, you said it. You said we can't really focus on the gentleman or focus on, she's over there laughing. I can see her face. We really can't focus on that. We have to focus on God and him causing us to be whole, right? I mean, that's really the basic premise. So thank you so much for sharing initially with us. Miss Genevieve Quinham, talk to us a little bit about your journey when you were single, but you were being faithful, and what you did to maintain your focus on God and not be struggling, as they say.
Thank you, Arlene. And actually, I have to say, to be honest, like Angela too, that I was not really Christian before I get married, because I get married very young. And being married.
How young is very young?
Say 23. I was going on my 23 when I get married, right?
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yes, I just finished college, and so I was dating
around that too.
My boyfriend since 5 years before. So for us, it was something natural. So that was not really a struggle for me. But let's say that I have met the Lord in my marriage through a trial. So just to say that, maybe to those sisters who is looking at us, that we we need a test to know exactly, um, because the Bible said in the book of Revelation, the Lord said to the angel, "Go in the temple and measure those who are worshiping." So there's a time in our life that we are measured, and we need to go through this test to to show what we are really looking for. Because I was just a Christian in brackets, but when I was measured, I was not really Christian. And
Did you say
through
you're a
that,
Christian in brackets?
in brackets, yes.
Parentheses. Oh,
Like not really full-fledged
I've never heard that
praying and
Exactly.
before.
Yes,
fasting and yeah, I get you.
just
You
a
were
Christian,
just
a Christian of
you were in name only.
exact what we say, the Sunday Christian. And so,
Yeah.
I this trials come in my life during my marriage, and this is how I become a faithful woman. So just to say that, it my trial was not marriage, but I need that trial to discover, to have this encounter with the Lord, and to discover that, well, as you know, we said, sometimes we think that we will be happy when we get married, and you get married, you see that you're not happy, and you look for a child, and you say that when I will have the child, I will be happy.
Then I'll be
You have
happy.
this child, and so on, until you
Mm.
discover that there is there is always, a big hole inside of you that only God can
Mm.
fill. And this is how I discover, how I become faithful. And let's say, like Angela said, I discovered that, well, the happiness I was looking for was not in someone else or in a statue, matrimonial statue.
So can I ask the question then that is really plaguing me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's from this study that's been done in the UK and the United States. It says here that an increasingly high rates of women
Mm-hmm.
of single women are leaving the church. And then the reason why that's plaguing me is because on the one hand, we are saying that it's only God that can fill us up. And these women are in the church,
Mm-hmm.
but they're leaving. So clearly there's a disconnect between the idea that God can fill us up, which is true, but at the same time, they're leaving because they're like, we're the men. So how do we reconcile the two things? How do we reconcile them?
Mm.
I think that's a great question.
Yes, it's a great question. I think
Mm.
that everybody has to, we need experience. We need to build a story. Everybody must have a story. And I think that as we're married, we can say that there is nothing to discover in marriage, but it is because we have already experienced it. And it's totally, I understand those women who say that, because it is a part of their life that they need to experience.
Mm.
But it's depend again, on how mature they are in their faith. Because when you really think that a part of your life is still empty, you're still waiting to discover God because there is something that you don't know in life. I, I think that maybe this is why Galatians 5:1 say that we have been freed by Jesus. And in
We've
this
been
case,
what? We've been what?
let
Freed
me,
by
yes, freed,
Jesus.
stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us
It's
free.
free. And
And
whom
do
the
not,
Free.
Son has set
yes,
free is free indeed.
exactly.
So, a little bit about my journey. Let me jump in here. When I was a single person, I scheduled when I was no longer going to be single. I'm
Really?
actually laughing. It sounds crazy, but I did. I scheduled it. So I graduated in the May, June, and my wedding was in December. So I
Oh,
scheduled
wow.
it. So I knew what was going to happen next. But the goal is what you were saying, Genevieve. The goal should have been, or could have been, because we shouldn't live in the shoulds. What was, and it happened for us, not to us. So what could have been was I could have been focusing on what was God's plan, what was next in God's kingdom, what was next on God's agenda, as opposed to this is the world. You graduate, I was focused on doing things the right way. I got my college degree, then I got a master's, then I got married, then I had 1.5 children, then I, had the house with the white picket fence. So really, if we focus, but I can say this now, if I had focused then on what was his next step for me, maybe it was. Maybe it was.
But a
maybe
critical
it wasn't
thing that you said,
time.
Arlene, you said something critical. You said, I scheduled.
I did.
When I was going to get married. So what that tells me is that you had a controlling nature. I want to control how my life was supposed to look and turn out. And so for that reason, the schedule, it speaks to the schedule. And then because you finished college, you got that degree, and then you got another degree, and then you got the 1.5, and you get the picket fence. You're a control freak. Possibly, if I'm wrong, but I think that was my problem too. I want to control the outcome of my life, and I think that's what gets us in trouble.
Can I ask?
Well, we're gonna bring in, I was just about to say that we're going to bring in our star guest today, a faithful single who actually can tell us from a practical perspective, because she is actually one of the people that we're discussing. Faithful, single, and not struggling anymore. Not struggling anymore. But here we are with our esteemed guest, Miss Magdi Akatogri. Go ahead, Magdi. Share with us a little bit first about your journey.
Arlene, let me ask you a question first, please.
Oh, first you're going to ask me a question?
Yeah.
You were going to tell us about your journey.
Yeah, but I want to understand this thing. I mean, Genevieve just mentioned that before she actually got married, she wasn't really into Christianity. She was a Christian, but not into Christianity.
Yes.
So, how about you? I mean, that time you were scuttling. Did you know that? Did you believe in the high being that he will work it out? Or did you feel like, okay, there's the God out there, but no, I am going to get what I want at this point?
Oh, no. I thought, just like many other single women in the church, that I am doing God's will. I was not just on paper a Christian. I was wholeheartedly a Christian. And I thought that part of my purpose as a Christian was to give God a good name. It was my job to show the people that I was doing things the right way so that God could be glorified. But what I missed, like when you're like about to get on the boat, but you just trip, I was right. I had the concept. Okay. The boat was there. I knew I was supposed to get on it. But before I got on the boat, you see, before I planned it, I should have said, not should, I keep using that word. What I could have said, because the person that I married was a pastor, not a pastor, a preacher. So he wasn't the pastor for the entire church, but he was a preacher. So it seemed like, well, he was a minister. He was in ministry. I knew his family. I knew that they were a good family. I could bring glory to God. And sometimes we get caught up in doing a good thing because it's good, but it's not necessarily always a God thing. Okay. So yeah, he was in ministry. I was in ministry. We could build a white picket fence and all of that good stuff, but was it God's plan? That's what we have to do.
This is very true. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep.
And why did you ask that question, Magdi? Like, what is it that?
Because Magdi is deep.
I just wanted to understand from her perspective why she was laying down her own life for herself. If she had that Christianity in her as a foundation, or if she was just laying it down, like being in the world.
Oh no, I wanted to allow the world to see how, if we follow God, how wonderful it can be. And yes, I still now see that it can be wonderful. We can be faithful and single, but it's important to ensure that we're on his timetable and in his plan. And that's why I struggle a little bit with the word struggle, because if we're truly on his timetable, if we're truly walking in his plan, what can be the struggle? It's not your plan. It's his.
But that sounds really holy, but even the most righteous people in the Bible struggle. So I have to say that struggling is part of the journey, and we should embrace the struggle.
Exactly.
I really believe that.
I think it's
if I'm not
beautiful
struggling,
that we can.
then I'm not growing. And if I'm not growing, I am not becoming the next best version of me. And this is what this entire platform is about. And that's what God wants us to be about, to be constantly striving to becoming the next best version.
I think the beauty is that we can see in all three of us how, even though we're all serving the master, our journeys are different. So your journey is struggle. If you receive that,
we all struggle. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying that it can be.
I think that struggle is for everyone. Maybe
right. That can be different. your route. Another person can have a route in the journey where they got married, they never had a divorce, they walked it out, and the Lord worked it out for them, and they totally don't even understand what this challenge is, because they weren't single long enough to even have that challenge. And then a third person, like Genevieve, she got married same age as me, very young, but then she stayed the course. Go ahead, Magdi.
No, Angela.
Say that again.
Dana just sent a text. You might want to look at it.
She can't get in?
That's what she said.
I don't know what's happening. Let's talk to the production team for a little bit. Jay, people can't get in for some reason.
It's just so beautiful. Did this is a question, was once Moses got his assignment and he accepted it, and Aaron came alongside him and went to the people and said, listen, I'm going to speak for you. And Pharaoh was saying, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. Was Abraham struggling? I'm sorry. Was Moses struggling?
No.
He wasn't?
He walked out his calling. He knew he was doing what God had called him to do, even though there were all these supposedly closed doors, because God had hardened Pharaoh's heart, literally. He wasn't telling him yes, but Moses was sure of the plan because it was God's plan. It wasn't his plan, so he knew how it was going to work out. So was he struggling?
He struggled at different points.
I mean, at a point, he literally gave up. He said he couldn't do it. God should choose someone else to do it.
But that was before he realized God's plan. But once he accepted God's plan, even though we don't have people in our faces telling us that, they're going to turn us into, the types of things that those Egyptians, stated they were going to do to Moses, but yet he stood fast. And was he struggling, or did he walk out the journey because he knew in the end what was going to happen, and he went back and kept going back and kept going back? I don't know. That's a choice. I throw it out there.
I'm sure
Maybe you disagree.
I am sure he struggled.
I'm sure too that he was struggling, because I think that it's the part of the human journey to struggle. We always have something to struggle, because as Angela said, through our struggle, we grow. And this is how we can reach what it said in the Bible, the stature of Christ, because we are like a plant. We always have, to move forward and I think that it's a part of our human journey. But as Angela said, we are here talking with faithful women. If we were in the world, if we were just psychologists talking to people who were not Christian, what we'll say is that, well, you were single and you're struggling, just go on the website and try to see where you can go outside and put some lipstick and go and have fun with friends. And why not? Yes, because
get your nails done.
Yes, that will be our solution, But as we are Christian here, I think that the first thing is to acknowledge that, yes, the struggle is real. Like Angela said, I have a book who's talking about that. The struggle is real. But the thing is that we all struggle something or at some point. But the thing is that we don't struggle like people in the world. This is
Mm.
why we are gathered here to say that, well, maybe ladies, being single is your struggle of the moment, but God has a purpose behind that. Maybe it is to help you see yourself as a complete person before, because maybe you messing up all your life thinking that you're not a whole person and you're waiting your happiness to come through someone else, and maybe God is saying to you, no, I want you to make us to have a pause. Sometimes it can be a pause to help you
Mm.
look at yourself in the mirror. God said, I'm calling you to do great things, and you talk just like Moses. I cannot. I need someone to come to help me. And God said, no, I want to make you a Deborah. Even if you get married, in fact, you are someone who has to lead as a
Mm.
woman. So many things happen. And sometimes I think that as Christian, when we struggle for something, we have to make a pause and review the journey, the relationship, and try to assess where we are. If not, I think that it's better not to call ourselves Christian, because
Wow.
we will come in the. I know when Angela said it sounds holy. It's true. That's why some I know that some ladies sometimes prefer to leave the church because they think that they needs and their struggle are not understood by the church. They said,
Mm.
oh yes, we're single and we're struggling. And people are telling us, oh, focus on Jesus, focus on Jesus. Jesus. But when we focus
Jesus
on
is the only hope.
on
That's
and
the
we don't
really the
want to
only
sleep
way.
alone.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna bring first of all, welcome Mary Beth. Thank you for joining us. And we're
Welcome,
gonna
Mary
bring
Beth.
Magdi back on. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Magdalene. That's her name this evening. We're not shortening it. Akatogri. Everybody else is Miss so and so. So we're gonna bring Miss Akatogri back in. She is actually a single lady. What is your take on how you are focusing on God in order to make this faithful journey, this faithful single journey? How are you doing it?
Um, I think being single itself is I don't know how to put it, but the word scares most people. And I feel like at a point we are either eager to just jump into a relationship, or we are either eager to just I mean get someone to rely on, that we forget the purpose for which being in a relationship, or the purpose for which being married is. You see, when God first put Adam and Eve together, it was for a single purpose, for procreation. And as the years go by, as time goes by, we humanity have redefined that purpose to suit our needs. That is how I see it. Yes, people still believe in procreation. We have married women or married couple who do not have kids and have opted for adoption and all that. But that I'm sure that they didn't just get married because they didn't want kids. And now in today's world, there are people who are married and are opting that they do not even want kids at all.
Mm.
So for me personally, being single is a lot challenging, because then there are a lot of things to consider. Sometimes you don't even know the mindset of the other person. Let's say you meet a person that shows interest in you. You are probably thinking that you are in a relationship with that person, and they are not in a relationship with you.
How is that possible?
Yes. So it is possible, because I feel like just as I said, we are always eager to just jump into a relationship. We do not get
Oh.
time to discuss certain things. So at a point, you feel like you are dating this person, but they do not feel the same way towards you.
So you missed the red flag.
Yes, you miss
It's waving really hard, but you can't see it.
you cannot see it, because
Mm.
you are in your own world and building this kind of thing in your mind just for yourself, and you haven't even taken a single bit to sit this person down and talk to this person. I know you are interested in me in some kind of way, but I really want to know what kind of interest you have in me. as a person? Are you interested in me, or do you have an interest in me? Those may sound so different.
And what's the difference? What's the difference between those the two questions?
Someone can be interested in you. They can just see your physical attraction and, oh, I'm interested in this. Like, you see a product in the market and you are interested in it. You want to buy it. Sometimes you even buy some things before you actually find out what you want to use that for. You buy a dress before you actually find out what occasion you want to wear that dress to. But if you have an interest in that dress, then it is probably because of the material the dress is made of, and who is behind that dress. What value does that dress hold to you? What can it add to you? That is having interest in something. You are eager, you want to know more about the dress before you actually purchase it. But
you're on mute, Arlene. You're on mute.
Thank you. So I think if I understand you correctly, Magdi, what you're saying is more time needs to be spent getting to know yourself.
Yeah. Getting to know yourself and getting to know the person you are building that relationship in your mind with.
That is excellent. And you shared that in beautiful timing, because we're about half past the hour. And the second part of our discussion is question number 2. Those of you that are on the call can see question number 2, which is we'll be discussing the practical strategies for setting those goals and for creating a sense of purpose in singleness. So there are strategies that many of you ladies have used when you were faithful and single along the journey. And I'm going to ask somebody to mute because we can hear your background noise. But while you were on that journey, there were certain tools and strategies that you used in order to maintain your singleness and not have to struggle and still be able to walk out the journey in a godly way. So I'd love for you, Angela, to start, since I know your program is about healing and about aspiring and about growth. So you already have maybe 3 principles that you could just throw out to us quickly so that we can understand what some of those tools and tips are.
Yeah, so the premise of the eSpeaks platform, which is to heal, aspire, and grow. For me personally, I came up with this platform because I realized that there is definitely a process for the progress. And I will continue to say that, yes, I struggled being a single Christian. But the thing that was really helpful was to be able to identify the different areas that I was in at the time. Like if I was really, for example, I see a guy and I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally want to like get with this guy. I realize in my heart that, yeah, there's something that I'm not connecting with God about, and I can talk to somebody another Christian woman about it. I didn't feel a need to hide. Sometimes I did, but I decided not to. I chose not to. I will talk about what I'm feeling. I'm really feeling sexual. I really want to go, just have sex because I'm single and I want to be with a man. Just being honest. The honesty is so important. And just having another woman who's on the same journey with me, being able to say, but what is it that you're after? Are you after just the crumb on the table, on the Thanksgiving table, or you want the whole Thanksgiving dish, the whole, with the dessert and everything else? One woman actually said that to me: you can just get the crumb, or you can wait for the whole Thanksgiving meal. And that was the difference between me settling for a guy, because people would be like, why are you single? That was like a big thing. But her life exemplified the fact that she was willing to wait for God's best and didn't settle for just whatever. And that was really, that helped me for a long time. And then struggle come again. This is not like a one and done thing. You struggle, you do well, and then the struggle will come up again, and it will come up again. So having the tools to be constantly using the word to heal you as you're struggling, to be a balm. The word of God is what definitely is the biggest tool, because I would have scriptures that I would memorize and pray through to help me. And as I'm struggling and I'm healing, I'm aspiring to become the next best version, so that when I'm struggling with something else, it's not exactly the same struggle. It may be the same struggle, but in a different form. I can also address that because it's healing, aspiring, and I'm growing. I don't want to, I didn't want to say this week I'm struggling with this and next week I'm struggling with the same thing and the next week, okay, I struggle with that for a while, I stop, something else comes up, and the other struggle may come again, but I was better prepared to deal with it when it came up again.
Beautiful.
So, and it's the idea of heal, aspire, and grow. And it's a continuous journey. And yes, it's very much a struggle. But there's a joy again along the way as well. It's not just, oh, I'm struggling all the time. No, there is a fulfillment in saying, wow, God is pleased with my effort. He's pleased with my decision to do it his way. Because let's be honest, the world haven't gotten figured out, because look at what we see around us. It's like madness. And when I think of, somebody who was heal, aspire, and grow, I think of Mary Beth, who is with us. She's been married for 52 years. Mary Beth, do you have a little nugget you want to give us?
Before you go on to Mary Beth, I want to say thank you.
Okay.
For sharing that, and a key piece in what you said, which I think is unforgettable and very simple. Anybody who's on here can leave with this nugget if they forget anything else. It was don't grab a crumb. Don't grab the crumbs. You waited until God's best.
Right.
And it is clear that that's really the message for us, that if we wait for God's best, then we don't have to be in the back and forth, this and then that, and it's not working. Because if we're sure and we're getting his best, then whatever it is that we get in that, it's his best. So we'll be fine.
Right. Don't be a pigeon, in other words. You ever see the pigeons by the ferry? Pick, 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 crumbs. We don't want crumbs.
Stay the course. And you're an example. You're a living, breathing example of how you waited. You were over 30 when you got married, and you're still in your marriage. I mean,
Yes.
there is no greater evidence of the fact that, we need to wait and stay the course than you. You're a living, breathing example. So before we go on and introduce Mary Beth and bring her in, let us also ask our panelists, what were some of the tools and goals that you used in order to maintain that singleness and maintain that faithfulness, Miss Genevieve?
One of the tools that I will maybe suggest would be to ask directly and honestly to our audience, what do you really want? As Angela said, what do you really want? Because if you can determine your priority, then the half of the struggle will be addressed. Because what do you want? As Angela said, well, I'm just tired, and I just want a man. I want to go out. I want to have sex. Okay, grab the first man you have. The problem is,
yeah. Them out there, just grab a crumb.
Yeah, grab the crumb. And there are many. And the thing
many
is,
crumbs.
Yeah, the thing is, there are more crumbs than the whole meal. The whole meal is it's depending on what you want. Okay, wow. But if you are struggling, but you still, like Mike said, someone who love his, you love yourself. You know what is your purpose. You want to be happy. So then I will tell you, okay, embrace your struggle and wait for the whole meal. Because I will give you this example that were coming in my mind. When you want to buy a telephone, you will say, okay, I want to take the iPhone 12, and someone will tell you, okay, the iPhone 12 is good, but it have this kind of problem. I think that you have to wait for the iPhone 13. And you say, you know what, I don't need any other features. I just need a phone to answer my calls. Then you can take the iPhone, but if you really want a good phone without, having those kind of trouble, you will wait. Because you will say, well, I want a phone, but I don't want a phone with that and that problem. Someone else will say, no, for the moment, my priority of this moment is just a phone. I just want to answer my calls. So if you determine, yes, so my tool will be to suggest to people that, okay, you have to identify your priority. What do you really want?
Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Genevieve. That was well said. Your point was, what do you really want? Be clear. Clarity.
Exactly.
Okay. And so we're going to go to our guest speaker today, who is the only single lady on the call. And we're going to ask her to answer question number 2, which again was practical strategies for setting the goals and creating a sense of purpose in your singleness. You gave us one clear one, and that was to get to know your partner and get to know yourself. Is there another one you want to share with us before we move on to our other guest?
Yeah, I think the other speakers have already spoken. What do you want? Someone will tell you, oh, you are being picky. You are single. If you want a man, you are stop being picky. There's so much fish in the sea, but they have forgotten that among all the things in the sea that is edible, there is shrimp that people are allergic to. There is shellfish that people are allergic to. There is fish with
allergies.
Exactly. And there is even
and the old truths too. The old truths.
Right. There is other monsters also in the sea that are poisonous that can kill people.
Some of them are monsters.
Right.
Some of them are poisonous.
Wow.
Crumbs. Okay, keep going.
Even with all this meat in the sea, don't get me wrong, okay? There are people, someone will also ask, oh, someone just met this person right away and it worked for them. Right, congratulations. But you have forgotten that however it worked for that person, it doesn't mean that it will work for the next person. It doesn't, whatever journey that person had walked in, it's not the same journey the next person right next to them is walking in. We may be walking in the same path, but the shoes I am wearing, probably not the same shoes you are wearing. We may be wearing the same brand of Puma, but the comfortability in my feet, the size is not the same as the size you are wearing. So sometimes, even before we just like push people, or even with all the pressure coming from every angle, people telling you, oh, you are being picky, oh, there is many people out there who are willing for relationships. Once again, the question is, do you just want many people or do you want the right person?
Excellent. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well said, Magdi. Getting to know that person, getting to know yourself, and making sure that that is the right person. And one of the key ways to do that is to spend the time to get to know them.
Right.
Thank you so much. Okay. Mary Beth, I know you've been married for very many years. And so we're going to ask you to take a trip back through that journey.
Long trip.
And see if you can remember, because you've also selected well, really well. You've been married for very many years, as Angela said. Tell us, what were some of the tools and tips that you used when you were selecting that person so that you didn't end up struggling, you know, in this journey as a faithful single person?
Well, first of all, I was very lucky that I got to know Jim on a level other than just, you know, sexual or attractive person or something like that, because I saw how he worked with children. We were both teaching in the same school. And I saw that he was committed to his profession, that he has a nice rapport with the children. So I saw him on a different level than if you meet somebody in a bar or if you meet somebody casually someplace. And so I think that was very important to me, that I saw how he reacted with other people. That was very nice. And also, we discussed things, you know, when of course on the first dates and things, you don't go into deep things, you just talk in generalities and things. But we found out we had things in common. We liked the same kinds of music. We went to plays. You know, I had the feeling that we would get along in that respect. And then, as you know, you date more, and you get to find out that this person, I felt would be committed to me. I knew myself once I decided to get married, and I would pursue a relationship with the person I thought we would marry. I knew that I would be very faithful, and I was very. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, and
This is good
I
stuff.
I knew
Go, Mary
myself.
Beth.
I knew myself. I would be faithful no matter what.
You would be faithful.
And then I knew through getting to know him that he would be faithful to me. It was very important. Also, that we shared the same, as I said, interest. We were both Catholic, which was important to me. He went to church. I went to church. These are things that I felt would make a strong, faithful husband. And it's turned out to be true. So these are the things. So on the first level, you just look at the outside, the physical aspects. I remember I had been at the school for a year before Jim came. And the first day of school, when the teachers come back, before the children come back, there was always a teachers got together, all with the principal, and everybody was introduced. Any of the new teachers coming in would be introduced, right? And I remember this nice looking man got up. He said, "We're having now a new person in the faculty, Jim McCarthy's going to be the music teacher." And he got up among all these people. And
so he wooed you with his music.
I can remember just
he
seeing
wooed you
him
with his music, huh?
Yeah, right. Well, I hadn't heard any yet. So I just remember him.
What?
No, I mean, that was just the first time I ever saw him.
You hadn't heard it yet, but then later on, he wooed you with his music.
But, I can remember sitting in that gym or cafeteria, wherever we were, or auditorium. And when he stood up among all the other people, and I thought to myself, he's not bad looking.
She was sizing him up.
She was so
sized him up, exactly right,
okay.
right. And so, and then the
Had an
funny thing is,
agenda.
I mean, he was nice looking. He was tall.
Yeah.
He had a nice way about him. He
fit
was
the profile.
clean cut. I mean, today I don't think any of these guys are clean cut anymore. But Jim had a nice clean cut about him.
You can
I
work
don't
with
like
them.
facial hair and all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
we can work with them. If the heart is right, we can work with the exterior things.
Right, right. But the thing is that, I just thought, he's not a bad looking guy. Of course, that's the first thing you see about someone. You don't know them until you start to talking to them. And then the funny thing is, there was a music teacher there, Mrs. Lyles, Teresa Lyles. I don't know if any of you would ever have known her. Lovely, lovely person, but she was in the music department. And she'd see me in the hall every once in a while. She'd say, "Mary Beth, I think you and James McCarthy would be good together. I'm going to talk to him." Well, I think she was the matchmaker in the school.
So that's another thing. That's another key piece, Mary Beth, that I think sometimes is missing within our faithful religious circles, because some of us in the religious circles may be apprehensive to connect one person with another, because what if it doesn't work out? We don't want to get blamed.
Right.
Whereas in other arenas and in other environments, people actually do help others. And that's a really good way, because your friends know your friends. They can say, well, I can attest to this person's background somewhat. Whereas today in the religious circles, I don't know that happens as much. Has that been your
experience? You're very right about that, because I noticed that many times in the newspaper, when they have articles about people who have been married a long time, in many cases, they'll say they met their future husband at a church dance or at something like that. And there used to be, in Brooklyn in particular, I understand, these large churches, and they would have all these dances during the weekend. Now, kids of this age, if we say we were having a dance for singles at the parish, probably nobody would come, because it's like passé. But at that time, there was nothing else going on. So
that
they
brings to a
gravitated.
really good question, because Angela, you were speaking about that. You said that in the church, for those of you that just joined on, you said that in the church, many single people are leaving statistically. What was that?
So they're leaving because, well, they don't see any eligible men. And then for the ones that are there, it's the competition is so fierce. And then in other cases, they just don't feel like they're on the level. they're on the level that they want them to be on. So there's a lot of different variables that are contributing to the exodus of women, single women from the church. And so it's really from my husband and I, what we try to do is we definitely do what you just suggested. We'll see this person, we'll use our parties at our homes, and we'll try to do matchmaking, play games, and just to put them in the same circle so that they can
have a conversation,
interact. Yes.
Right.
So we can
This-
host.
This is
Also, you know,
this is
when you
this is
now,
amazing. And
I meant-
I will ask you to Mike D. Mike D, what would you think about that? If, for example, you have Christian friends who, how would you consider this, for example, that a friend, you know,
or Angela said, come on
introduce
over.
someone,
I want you to meet
yes,
Joe.
to someone else.
Okay, listen, I believe that, and I'm not speaking this based on relationship. I'm speaking this in general. For connections are usually strong when it is made through another party, a mutual friend. So for that, yes, generally that is what I believe, because you know me, you know the person, and if you believe that this person and I could probably come to, and let me say, a medium that we both understand each other to build a connection, then I'm sure the person, whoever probably introduced these two, knows that there will be challenges, but they also knows that from their perspective, these two will be able to pull through certain challenges. So that is not a problem for me personally. I feel like that such relationships actually grow stronger because someone took their time to study both parties before actually introducing.
I like this
so
because, you
much.
know, she said it applies to across the board. There's a concept called, by John Maxwell, actually, I think he talks about who luck. Does anybody know what who luck is? Who luck says, who do you know that you think that I should know? And you can use that in dating. You can do that in business. I mean, I use it in business all the time because I know I run a small business. Who do you know that I should know, that you think that I should meet? And I think that more and more women in the church should be asking their friends these questions, their married friends especially. Who do you know that I should know, that you think that I should know? And they may go, you know, I met this guy in Mississippi last week, and I think, you know what, I'm going to hook you. I think you guys would be, let me do the introduction. I mean, you just don't know where those things are going to lead. And you know, there's been countless stories like that.
I want to thank you, Mary Beth. Your conversation here has been invaluable. The key point that we will definitely take away is that key point that you shared with us about your relationships and the people that are around you and looking to them to make connections. Angela mentioned John Maxwell's book. In my book, I had to look it up to see which number it is. Overcoming Fear, Getting Unstuck. It's actually step number 7, which is proximity. It's one of the key pieces, but I wouldn't have shared it. So thank you so much. So this evening, we have just a few minutes left. I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us. Mary Beth, that key point that you shared about proximity, who are you in close proximity with? What are those people sharing with you as far as the people that they know? Thank you, invaluable. You also said that in your career is where you met your partner. And so it wasn't a romantic relationship first, it was just a collegial relationship as a key piece. Thank you. Genevieve, you said that it is the question that one needs to ask is, what do you want? We may be struggling as a faithful single because we're not clear as to what exactly you want. Thank you, Genevieve, for sharing that with us. Angela, the key point that you shared was taking time and not taking the crumbs. Not taking the crumbs, but you took time and you waited in order to get the best that God had for you. And Magdalene, thank you so much, because your key point that you shared with us, drum roll please, No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. From Maggie, we need a drum roll. Thank you so much. You shared that we need to spend the time to get to know the person in depth, as well as get to know ourselves in depth. Get to know that partner. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing on the call this evening. We have 6 minutes left. I want to give the person who was the founder of the Eve Speaks platform an opportunity to share with us now where we go from here. So we've discussed the fact that we want to not have to struggle in this journey. We want to be faithful. We want to walk out the journey in a way that pleases our Father, so that we can not have the crumbs, but get the best that He has to offer, utilizing all of the key pieces that we have. So I know that of the 3 of us who are a part of the Eve Speaks platform as coaches, myself, Miss Genevieve, and Miss Angela, we are looking for people who are single, who are faithful, and who want to be a part of this journey and get some coaching and some support along the way, because we don't want you to do life alone. Many of us here have shared that if we knew then what we know now, we may have done things differently. And others of us shared we were glad that we had people who came alongside us and supported us along that journey so that we would know what to do. So we want to be here for you. We don't want to leave you out there as if you have to travel alone, but we want to support you. We have several different routes that we can take. Heal, Aspire, Grow is one program. We have Overcoming Fear and Getting Unstuck, which is another program, the program that I have parented based on my journey. And we have Blessed.
Best to blessed.
From messed to blessed. And now I'm going to turn it over to Miss Angela Gibson to close us out and to also be clear in terms of where we go next if we're interested in being a part of the platform and learning from the esteemed coaches that you have put together.
Thank you, Arlene. That was so brilliantly delivered. Thank you to our guests, Mary Beth and Magdi, and it's very, very grateful to have you here. As far as where to go next, yes, the biggest thing for us to understand is that we cannot look for anyone to fulfill us. So the idea that a lot of people are trying to put the horse before the cart is probably the biggest indicator that we have not healed. And therefore, I would suggest that you reach out to us via our website, www.evespeaks.com, and get connected with one of our esteemed coaches so that we can have a free consultation to determine where you are right now in your personal journey, because we can't really go forward unless we know where we are. That's really critical, to assess and evaluate where you currently are emotionally, mentally, and intellectually too, so that you can really take inventory of yourself. And that would be where I would definitely encourage you to start. And then we can go on from there. But knowing where to start, critical piece. So the Heal, Aspire, Grow program feeds into how to overcome fear and get unstuck and live your best life, and helping you to move from being a mess to being blessed. It all ties in together. So go ahead, click the link, or just reach out to us on our website, evespeaks.com. Thank you so much for joining us. So grateful to have you join us. And thank you to our guests as well. Just the of us, Joyce, Patricia, so grateful to have you as well. No, you didn't say much, but if you have any additional questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or reach out to us, as I mentioned before. Have a great one.
Everyone, God bless you all.
Thank you so much.
You.
See you next time for our next session. Okay, look out for us, because we will be coming to you with another session soon.
Yeah, sure.